Hello, Education 2301. Here's your week 5 explanation over language in ESL. We finished the main topic of special education and we're shifting to other special populations. English language learners is one. These are students whose home language is not English. They have come from other countries. And they may not even have come from other countries, but if parents have migrated here and they only speak Spanish or Russian, um, that may be the home language that is spoken. So we've got lecture materials, we have an IEP which is related to the topic of special education, and then we have your weekly activity over English language learners. Here is your lecture material over it. So this is looking at approaches to bilingual education, and your weekly activity is going to look at the 3 educational models in order to teach students whose home language is not English. These are videos that I made. This one's on second language acquisition. You do need to have a strong grasp of your first language to learn a second language. This is looking at culture in the classroom. And so when you look at a student, even if English is their primary language, they may have a strong connection to the Chinese culture. And so it could be things like, and we talk about culture, you can talk about, of course, Chinese culture or Mexican culture or Ecuadorian culture. But then you can also talk about specific family culture if they're into racing, if they're into football, if they're a military family. And so this video goes into that. This is a really great video looking at the mom. Doesn't appear to be literate. However, she passes on a lot of skills, funds of knowledge to her. This one is a video over teaching strategies to use in the classroom, key terminology when we're talking about English language learners. She does a beautiful job talking about why we need to be inclusive and expose children to multiple languages, and realize that in the classroom we need to be inclusive and have our students represented in the classroom. I want you to watch this because this lesson is taught in Spanish, and so I want you to think about, especially if English is the only language that you have, this is kind of a think about, you are a Spanish language learner and trying to learn content if you don't know the language. And I want you to think about, this is trying to give you the simulation of an English language learner in your classroom, not only trying to learn English, but trying to learn the concept. What does she do to highlight what the topic is, what she's asking of you, things along those lines. So I think it's a really great experience. Then you have an IEP paper that's due. I wanted this paper to be due after we get through all of the exceptionalities. Here is the video explanation of it, so I'm not going to spend any more time on it, but you are welcome to message me. Here's examples, written forms of it. Next is going to be your weekly activity over the educational models for English language learners. And so first you're going to find out 2 facts. Cite your sources. How many English language learners are there? How many are in each program? How many are in Denison? How many are in Pottsboro? How long does it take to acquire languages? Things along those lines. And then you're going to create up this chart for B. What is it? How do they teach really? Like, they teach children only in English. They teach children in English and Spanish. They teach children. And then what's the strength of that model? If you only teach somebody in English, what's the strength of that? What's the weakness of that? If you teach people in Spanish and English, their home language and another language, what's the strength of that? What's the weakness of that? And then, based off of what you research, you find what are 5 strategies to help English language learners in the general education classroom. So that is going to be your week 5 activity and your explanation.